Is that sort of in between is where there can be a bit more risk, quite a bit of weakness. We've sort of seen that play out over the past 12 to 18 months when we look at the sort of Walmarts and some of the dollar stores, not the entire cohort, versus the Targets sort of sitting there in the middle versus some of the more premium options when it comes to really more single brand retailers rather than some of the multi-brand premium options. We've seen that the Walmarts are doing very well, the Costco's are doing very well, the dollar stores are doing well because they're offering value. And then at the top, we've seen that a lot of the wealth in this country is coming from that upper crust. They're managing to feed most of the money that's coming from consumers into the economy. In the middle is where it's a little bit weak, where pricing is a little bit too rich for where really large bulk of consumers by volume need it to be, but also not quite at the quality threshold that consumers at the top of the ladder need it to be. So we're having to sort of take that similar K-shaped approach in investment that the economy is moving into itself.
Shelby, thank you so much. Appreciate it. As always, Shelby McFadden, Senior Analyst, Motley Fool Asset Management. We're down here in Alexandria, Virginia. Next story's got my attention because I consider myself a moderately educated steak eater. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to my favorite steakhouse in New York City, Keen's Steakhouse.
Oh yeah,
It's East 36th Street to my face. Our next story is all about that. Elena Peng joins us here, Bloomberg News Agriculture Reporter. Here's the story. Cheaper steaks get an upgrade to say protein-raised Americans. If somebody asks me again what I put, I'm gonna smack them. It's just steak, you want chicken, you want, whatever. And then thanks so much for joining us here. Talk to us about what's happening with the price of steaks, and people need protein, presumably.
Yes, absolutely. So the situation with beef prices is that they've just been going up, straight up, because supply is really tight. But when you talk to people in the industry, demand hasn't gone down, which is really surprising. I know when prices first started rising, everyone was like, oh, there's going to be demand destruction. And largely all of the demand shifts we've seen have been happening in terms of like trading in between the beef categories. So overall consumption continues to stay super strong. And a lot of that goes down to Americans want more protein and the taste of beef is somehow still preferred.
Yeah, it's all American, right? I mean, we're Americans, we eat beef specifically. So with prices the way they are, not everyone can afford to eat filet mignon the way they were able to before. So there are different cuts of beef that are now becoming more common, more popular. What are some of those cuts?
Yeah, the top sirloin is one that we've been hearing a lot as a swap for filet mignon. Omaha Steaks, which supplies a lot of the grocery stores, and retailers. They've been going through like this dry aging process, which is like really hard for a consumer to do because it takes up a lot of space, it takes up a lot of meat. So they've been doing that for 35 days, and then they got that USDA certified as like very tender, specifically with the intent of competing against a grocery store filet mignon. But beyond that, like we're also seeing a lot of consumers at home experiment with like slow cooking or other strategies.
Using that instant pot.
Yes, exactly. Like a 24-hour sous vide, just so they can use a cheaper cut of meat.
See, when we had the problem early in the pandemic with not enough eggs, my solution, I said make more chickens. They did, problem solved. It's a little bit different here with beef, isn't it? Because there is, I guess, the herd in the U.S. very low, right now, very small. Is there a plan to increase the number of cows out there?
That's what everyone's waiting for. Everyone's waiting for that herd retention. It's going to be a long process. Everyone keeps waiting for it to happen. I think right now people are saying probably this year we'll see some rebuilding, but that won't make it to the grocery store until 2027 or so. It's a hard situation for ranchers because they started paring back the size of their herds like several years ago at a time when there were a lot of droughts and the interest rates were really high. Because it just makes it very expensive to raise animals. And now, right now, with the beef herd being at the size that it is, the animals they do have are worth so much that it's still profitable for them to keep selling them for meat, as opposed to saying, I'm gonna keep this animal, I'm going to raise it for it to have more cows later on to be sold into a market that like, they don't really know what that market will look like that far out.
So it's harder than my chicken
Yes, it is,
strategy.
unfortunately. For sure. How are restaurants responding to this? I mean, they can't not offer beef on their menu, so they need to do it, but are they also just kind of picking up the other cuts or being more innovative in their menu selection?
All of the above. Yeah, all of the above. I think they're picking up some other cuts. They're being more creative with what they're promoting. We're seeing a lot more hamburgers, appetizers in the form of like meatballs or other ground beef products that are a little bit cheaper. And we are also seeing, like especially on the fast food side, a little bit of the promotional spend shifting towards other proteins like chicken. So it's like you still have beef on the menu, but if you're trying to bring in a consumer, you're advertising the cheaper chicken option.
I don't eat beef or steak very much.
But do you eat beef overall?
Yes,
Okay.
but I mean, the steak on the grill is in the summer. That's a thing we do pretty often.
Yeah.
You know,
John Tucker just had a hamburger last night.
I had one this
It
one.
was $35, no bun, and
Because
it
he
was
bought
pretty
it in
good.
town Manhattan.
I went to JG Mills. I had the same bacon cheeseburger I had back in 1996.
I was just sitting there by myself. You don't have a phone, you don't call.
I mean, people are still eating beef, but not the chicken. Happy as a clam of chicken.
You know, one thing that you can't find in the grocery stores, like at ShopRite, for instance, is beef shank, which Asians use to make beef stew.
Really?
Yeah, you slow cook that, you know, and
Is that a new phenomenon?
no, it's
Or just
something
not
that,
beef
like,
shank?
I would go to H-Mart, I would go to an Asian grocery store,
Okay,
I wouldn't
okay.
get it in the
I got you.
regular supermarket, but maybe that'll become a thing.
There's some in. We'll check John. I'm
Check it out.
We had a cow growing up on the farm.
I'm sure you
It
did.
just,
You have a
nasty,
different life than me.
yeah, I mean, it was a dairy cow, but
In Jersey.
that
All
worked.
right, Elena, thanks so much for joining us. Elena is the agriculture reporter for Bloomberg News. Her job is to make more cattle out there to bring down the price.
It's gonna take time,
I know. That's what I heard. I watched, what was it, a show about the ranchers? I watched all that. All right, back to our new show, folks. Bloomberg this weekend, David Gura, Christina Ruffini, and Lisa McCullough. They bring you unique conversations and in-depth interviews on news, politics, lifestyle, and culture. Watch and listen on Bloomberg TV, Bloomberg Radio, and Bloomberg Business app Saturdays and Sundays starting at 7 a.m. Eastern. So that's going to be across all of the Bloomberg TV distribution. Good stuff. David Ferrer and Christina Ruffini and Lisa Taylor. So that's every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, in the 7 a.m. block. 3 hours of new program. This is Bloomberg One.
a recovery designed for real-world success. Learn more at WGU.edu.
But it's hard to know what to believe.
These analyses are 0% real vaccine.
It's easy to believe in nothing. You can believe in better with Stony Food Organic because we make yogurt without using toxic pesticides with milk from pasture-raised cows. That's more to believe. You've got something to cheer for, like paying less for your trips. Score a great deal on flights, hotels, and
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is the Bloomberg Business Flash.
The Bloomberg News for this Bloomberg Business Flash. Let's start off with the two main stories that we're following today. This is a deal with tens of billions. Meta, they're buying AMD chips, computers designed to run AI models over a 5-year stretch. This starts in the second half of this year. And they're also going to receive warrants of about $160 million from AMD.
It's a great experience. It's the energy of the table. Everybody knows that it's a table.
Well, that's a different game, like it.
Okay, just having a little fun here, you know. another account. Let's get some notes. You know. I know a little bit, I don't know. And I'm okay.
AI can't shred, but it can help see tuck geometry for faster steps.
It's looking like potentially
AI in Google Cloud.
Okay, I don't know what it looks like here, but
It's hard to admit, I still pay for phone service.
here.
I still pay for phone service.
You need Text Now. It's the only phone service with unlimited talk, text, and central data, all for free.
I used to pay for phone service.
The rocket ship. Right? It looks like a rocket ship. Okay. Usually people will say this is a rocket ship, seeing this pattern, is people like Carlos. Carlos usually look at this pattern and goes, okay, that's up there. When I look at this formation, it's rocket ship. It's gonna go up. So he goes and buys it for as a bear for Carlos. You gotta, you know, make a decision what it is. So Grace Collins for the crown. Jack C, you used the shampoo Head and Shoulders. Was it good? I don't like using both shampoo and conditioners. So, I don't use that brand, but if you use Head and Shoulders shampoo, knock yourself out, friends. When is Trump's speech? 12:30. Anybody in your family interested in trading? My children my kids kind of ask me, you know, what I do. I briefly explain to them. I try to explain to them. I put on a piece of paper. I'm like, okay, so when we buy stocks, we're going to buy low and sell high. So now draw these little like paper charts. You know, when they're buying, I'll purposely make it go lower. And I'll pop a little bit. Okay, what do you buy now? You sell. And then they go buy it. And then at the beginning, I give them a little sweet. And I'm like, oh, you know, went up. You know, you made $200 on this paper. And then once I start to get them to know, buying the dip scared, right? Every time, like for food trades, they start making like $400,000, $500,000. Like, oh, yes, I'm winning. Then, once they start getting that win, I start doing inputs, right? I'm like, what are you going to do? I'm going to buy. Okay, great. And then the next candle, I print it like super down. Now they're down 400. I'm like, what are you going to do now? I'm going to buy more. I'm like, okay, are you sure? Yes. They buy it, and I make it go down even more. I'm teaching them the reality of trading. Just buying the dip don't work all the time. Right? Give them a little bit of this incentive in the beginning, right? Buy the dip and make the thing go up on the paper so you know, buy low, sell high. But it doesn't work all the time. And that's the reality of trading. As I told you guys, like, a lot of people doing this, like, for example, some of you guys see like 2.6 apart because you've been used to last year from April go straight up like this. Right? All you gotta do is just buy and keep adding, and eventually it'll come. Okay? And so a lot of people make their like first $1 million like this. Okay? They make the first million like whatever it is, they make it here like this. And then once we enter into a top phase after like October, they give everything back and move because they don't know how to handle wave 4 on the other or consolidation. So that's why, you know, Jesse Livermore, one of the people that reported live, you know, made some $200 million shorting the market almost a century ago. He ended up being bankrupt and he took his own life because he made the money, but he lost it all. Like trading is not just about making money, it's about keeping the money, knowing when to take the loss, knowing when to walk away. Know when to walk away. If you don't know when to walk away, sometimes you're gonna walk away. And yeah, it's good practice in life. You walk away when things are not going your way. You know, you get into an argument or you get into a talk with your wife. Sometimes
¿Sabes qué pensaste? Piénsalo. Por eso, pienso igual que ya te decía, pues con tu dinero para que puedas vivir como desees. Nobody gives you a gold medal for finishing your taxes, but TaxAct does give you an email confirmation, which you can read while playing the national anthem. TaxAct. Let's get that over with.
Afectados, y turismo, por supuesto, por uno de los ingresos mayores que tiene este país.
Así es, tomando en consideración que de la riqueza que se genera a nivel nacional, representada en el PIB, el 8% es generado por esta muy importante actividad, que es especialmente el turismo. Y sin duda la primera derrama la estaremos viendo dentro de la mes, pues, cuando ya tengamos Semana Santa, Semana de Pascua, de cara también de cero a la víspera del Mundial, es decir, esta situación de la que hoy ya afortunadamente quedó en el pasado, viendo hacia el futuro, la actividad económica representada en la agricultura, en la manufactura, en los servicios, va a ser sin duda muy importante, tomando en consideración que vamos a tener un segundo trimestre con mucha actividad turística, por supuesto, pero también en la manufacturera, de cara a lo que vamos a tener también el 1 de julio en cuanto a la revisión del trimestre.
That's down. This is one of the few commercial flights that's actually able to land in Guadalajara today. This plane will be fully booked with a very long standby list of people eager to get out.
I mean, this is what you see as soon as you walk out of baggage claim. You've got crowds of folks who are sitting with all their luggage. You've got people who have turned their luggage into furniture, propping their legs up. Some of them essentially camping out under blankets. And many of them seem to be here without even anywhere to go. They don't have flights, they don't have a confirmed ticket, they don't even know if they have a ticket, if the plane will take off. How confident are you you'll be flying out tonight?
Hopefully, like it's a 50-50.
You don't feel internally
No,
at
it's like really quiet right now. And then like you read online that okay, maybe the thoughts of like regrouping and maybe it's gonna get worse now.
You just want out of here at this point.
100%. Yeah.
You just want to go home. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been 5 months, yeah.
We can outrun if anything actually happens, and then also like just to keep the baby healthy. How are we gonna get food? How are we gonna be able to have clean water? So where will you sleep?
Title White Glove is basically hands-on AI coaching. How do you get value out of Mezi? How do you get value out of the AI?
Amish, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate getting a few minutes of your time. Really fascinating story, another application of AI. People ask, what are the applications of AI? All these billions that are being spent by the hyperscalers for financial services is another one. Amish Jain, he's the CEO. The firm is called Mezzi, M-E-Z-Z-I, based out there in San Francisco. Fascinating discussion. Well, Chicago Fed President Alfie Goolsbee, he says that the Supreme Court's decision to strike down many of President Donald Trump's sweeping global tariffs may cause more uncertainty for businesses, but could also help cool inflation. Earlier, Goolsbee spoke with Bloomberg's Michael McKee. He began this portion of the conversation by discussing interest rates, and emphasizing that we must get inflation down. Let's take a listen.
I'm a little more concerned about inflation right now because I think the job market is pretty steady. I think growth is pretty steady. I think there's some promising stuff in the inflation reports, but there's also some warning signs. So, as I say, I'm not hawkish about rates. I'm pretty optimistic that we can get rates down further, multiple cuts in 2026, as long as we see the progress on inflation that forecasters have been forecasting that it's supposed to start coming down. And I just want us to see some progress on that front before we not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, you talked about that a little bit, and it's a question I asked Jay Powell once, is it seems like every time you put out a summary of economic projections, the economic outlook by the various members of the Open Market Committee, the 2% target gets hit 2 years from now. The next one hits 2 years from now.
Exactly.
So what goes wrong?
That's, a lot of things can go wrong. In this case, what I want to make sure is not going wrong is that we need inflation not to be persistent. The part of inflation that has come from tariffs is supposed to go away. It's supposed to be transitory. And when you see things like the forecasts say inflation's going to peak out and then start falling by the end of 2025, and then that moves the goalpost, well, then maybe it'll be the first quarter of 26. And now they're saying, well, maybe it could be the second quarter of 26. That's not a great sign. We need to see, we should see, especially on the good side, if the tariff inflation is transitory, it's supposed to start going away. And as soon as we start getting some evidence that we're back on the path to 2%, as I say, I think rates can still keep going down. And if you look at the SCP dot plot, a large group of the committee thinks that where rates will eventually settle is still well below where we are today. It's just, we must get inflation down from this 3% level that we've been stalled out at for now a year.
All right, that was Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee. Speaking of Bloomberg's Michael McKee, so that was from earlier. So one of the things we're keeping an eye on is this big M&A trade in the media space, Warner Brothers Discovery. What do we know? We know that it's for sale. We know that Netflix has an offer that's been accepted by Warner Brothers Discovery. That's a good thing. But we also know that Paramount Skydance is very interested and has made repeated bids for this company. And it's been reported most recently that Paramount's actually raised its bid a little bit, but I don't know where we are. It's been hanging on for such a long time here. Somebody is following this stuff very closely, and that's Geetha Ranganathan. She is the media analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. She follows all of the media companies out there. Geetha, I guess Paramount's coming up with a higher offer. Do we have any details on what this new offer for Warner Brothers Discovery is?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So we don't have the dollar amount. We know that it's above $30 per share. That's the tender offer that they launched a few months ago for all of Warner Brothers Discovery. They had informally agreed to take the number up to $31 or above $31, but we still do not have clarity on the number that they have revised it to. And we're still kind of, I think at least the Warner Brothers shareholders, Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders are still kind of waiting for that best and final offer.
All right, so let's go over the analysis here for this. Why did I go long here? I went long. We're above the weekly POC on both ES and NASDAQ, so showing strength there. And then, let's see. we had a lot of sell volume at this level here. A lot of sellers, but buyers. This was a swing point, it looked like, and buyers were protecting this level. Tried to place a limit order here, did not get filled. Any of these. Right here, I did not get filled here. But I noticed some absorption at this swing point. This is a strong pivot here. This is also a value level. Sellers try to come down, could not displace out of this level. So buyers protected here, and this is a lot of absorption in this level. And I'm seeing more aggressive here. This one, I first thought this one was going to be a liquidation candle, but it held. This held, so more aggressive here. Once these aggressors came in and we took out this massive seller over here, this massive bear candle, then I was trying to get in somewhere here at this. So what we can do is, let me see if I can find a better take profit level. If we can maximize this, could go higher. Especially on the ES. ES has a great level at the top. So we could target much higher here. Let's see. Well, I'll just target the buy side liquidity. I'm just going to target buy side liquidity here. This was today's high. But there's a higher high on ES. Let me see if NQ has it. Well, it would have to be way up here. But that was the reasoning for this trade. Massive sellers came in, aggressive sellers here, and they were taken out. But this is a value area. Could easily reject here, but see how price reacts at this level. See if we can get more acceptance. Aggressive buyers coming in. Some absorption here. Maybe it might rotate here. See how the buyers react here. If buyers can displace this level, we can go back up, but looks like we can go back up. We can close like that. Yeah, we're going back up. We're going higher. So either we just get taken for half of profits, or we can go, or if we get more aggressive buyers in acceptance in this level, then we can take that high of the day out. It's trying. It really wants it. ES has some massive willing sellers up here. Looks like 200 contracts. There's 700 contracts sitting at 6,900 price level of ES. So yeah, it's definitely going for that. We're going for that liquidity. That's a great target. Willing sellers up here. That well, we're pretty much guaranteed for today. Either comes back, swings back to take us for plus 1,500, or we hit our target. But we're so close to that liquidity. 700 contracts on the ES resting right above the daily high. Passive sellers just sitting there waiting to get filled. All right, let's get back to the news.
Gold 51.48 the ounce, while West Texas Intermediate crude 65.97 a barrel, WTI down by 0.5%. And Bitcoin up with a $64,000 handle, 64,300 on Bitcoin, lower by 0.4%. Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago President Austin Goolsbee says the Supreme Court tariff ruling could help bring inflation down. And in an interview with our Michael Kennedy, Goolsbee said he wants to see evidence that inflation is cooling to the Fed's 2% target before supporting further interest rate cuts.
I'm not hawkish about rates. I'm pretty optimistic that we can get rates down further, multiple cuts in 2026, as long as we see the progress on inflation. That forecasters have been forecasting that it's supposed to start coming down. And I just want us to see some progress on that front. Hopefully not get ahead of ourselves.
And you can watch the full conversation with Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee on YouTube on the Bloomberg podcast channel. Meta platform shares are advancing along with advanced micro devices. Now Meta will deploy 6 gigawatts worth of data center gear based on processors from AMD. It's a blockbuster deal that marks a win for the chip makers that takes to catch up with NVIDIA. AMD surging 8.8%, helping lift techs. We got Meta platforms up by 0.2%. For on-demand news, 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News now wherever you get your podcast. Back we go to Washington. Long day ahead for Joe Matthew. Once again, here's your host of the Balance of Now, Joe.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. He's along for the ride here on the early edition of Balance of Power. Glad you are too. Welcome to the Tuesday edition. It's not just any Tuesday. It's, of course, State of the Union Day here in Washington, and the whole city kind of takes on its own vibe on this day as we count down to 9 p.m. It's usually 9:01:30 if we're on time for the big speech tonight. President says it's going to be a record. Well, he didn't say a record, but he says it's going to be a long one. And last year was a record. So we're expecting something in the triple digits following his 99-minute romp last year. And it all starts right now, as a matter of fact. We just a little inside baseball before we talk to Tyler Kendall. This is something that happens every year. And this president is continuing the tradition of having the network news anchors come over for lunch. It's the State of the Union luncheon in the Blue Room. And all the big shot anchors just walked up the driveway there. We'll be curious to hear the menu.
There's it. There's our trade for today.
Be watching the speech along with us. We've got a long day of coverage planned.
ES just got filled. The 700 contracts of sellers right there, right in this area, just got filled.
Of course, we're going to have special coverage live from Statuary Hall as the members join the president, a joint session, of course, but we'll also see members of the cabinet. Yeah, we're going to see the Supreme Court as well. Does he select who he shakes hands with? Does he have words for Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett? We're going to find out in real time. That walk down the aisle is going to be something. Remembering, of course, that, well, as I said, the president set a record last year at 99 minutes. It wasn't a State of the Union, right? The first year, it's an address to a joint session.
The president will be delivering his State of the Union this evening.
For every one new regulation, 10 old regulations.
Okay. Happy Tuesday, and see you in the next session.
Economy in history is for this Congress